Alright, so we got our cases out the oven. Nice black Cerakote on there. I do have a couple of the main crank bearings in the freezer right now, so we're going to see how we deal with just using a torch and the freezer. Popped right in there nice and easy. So far, having good luck. I got that bearing right here. Wanna see this bearing hop on in there? Nice and easy.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You didn't do anything like that.
Alright, now that we got both of our crank bearings in, this one here didn't sit all the way at first. I did have to give it a little bit of a tap here. So now I'm just gonna have to wait for them other ones to cool down a little bit. I just stuck those ones in the freezer for this transmission. So meanwhile, we're gonna go ahead and start working on this head. I wanna go ahead and sand off some of these casting marks and get this prepped for Cerakote. All right, took a dive there. A little tapping, all set in.
Oh, speed race.
All right, that was our last bearing for the actual transmission. We seem to be not having no issues, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw the bearings for the water pump and also the shift, or is that the clutch? The clutch rod or whatever. So we're gonna go ahead and throw those bearings in the freezer, and we'll just have to wait, let them cool off. All right, so we just got done putting all of our bearings in our cases. So you can see here, we got all of our bearings in on both sides, as well as this little water pump bearing. So we got our crank in the freezer right now, cooling off. We're gonna put a little bit of heat to this inner race of the bearing, and we should be able to plop our crank right in. If not though, we do have this Tusk crank puller, and we'll definitely be using that when we put the two cases together, either way. All right guys, we just grabbed our crank fresh out the freezer. Go ahead and throw some heat and see how this acts. But real quick, I just want to point out to anybody out there who's maybe, you know, not a mechanic or is maybe going to do this job. One of the main reasons why you're going to need this puller installer is because you have to look at the way how your crank goes. So you got to understand you have your shaft coming, and then it's going to go on a 90-degree angle, come up 90-degree through your connecting rod, and then another 90-degree. So if you just apply pressure on one end of your crank, you're really putting a lot of stress on the center point here. That's why you need to pull from one end or pull from the other. Even if you were going to hit this thing, you really wouldn't want to hammer on the end. You would actually want to kind of hammer where the pin is. But either way, it's not something you want to be doing. That's why you have the tool to pull on either side. I'm going to go ahead and throw some heat, and it should pop right in. All right, here we go. It should be nice and hot. I'll go ahead and see how this goes. All right, just like that, we should be in. And just a quick demo for anybody who doesn't know much about, engines or anything like that. Your crank is what's going to be taking your up and down explosion power into rotational. Boom, 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 boom. And just to be safe, I slapped that tusk puller on there. It was nice and tight, so our crank sit just the way it should, nice and tight up into that bearing. Going to go ahead and prep it up and start throwing in our transmission. All right, we got our transmission lined up the way we want. I'm gonna go ahead and slide this one washer off so it don't drop on me. I'm gonna put that on top of the bearing, making sure I don't flip it. I'll go ahead and put a little bit of oil on the end here. And hold these gears together. And they should drop straight down. All right, there we go. All right, now we're going to take our shift drum and put it into place. We got our forks off to the side. Start to slide our forks into the drums. Got a little shorty, a little bit of oil on there. All right, here we go. We have all of our gears installed. The shift drum is in place with our guide rods and everything like that. I've been rotating and going through the gears and everything seems to be working like it should. I'm gonna throw a little bit of grease here and there on the case just in case something happens and we gotta split this baby again. All right, we got a little layer of grease down. I'm gonna go ahead and grab our gasket, put it in place here. We'll go ahead and cut this little piece here so it doesn't get held up from that crank. All right, now that we got our gasket on, ready to go, we just got to prep this other case. We went and ditched our old black vent hose and went with a nice orange. So check that out. Just gonna go ahead and put a little bit of that gasket maker on there. All right, so this is as far as the case will sit. We're gonna go have to grab our crank installer and start setting that crank into that other bearing. I'm gonna slide that over first. Tighten that down. All right, we got our two cases together. We're gonna start having to throw some bolts in here, get it locked down. All right, we got all of our bolts tightened up. We're gonna go ahead and throw the seals in on this side. Okay, so we put our seals in on this side of the motor. I'm gonna flip this bad boy over, start working on the clutch side. Actually, while we're here right up on top, we'll go ahead and cut this gasket material off. Okay, that should be trimmed up enough. Go ahead and set this thing up. All right, now we're gonna start putting together the right side of this motor. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in. We got a new O-ring installed. Go ahead and slide that in. And then check this out. This is actually the seal that comes with the hot rod kit. And this was the seal I had with the American gaskets. And I just want to show you guys how much deeper the seal well is on the American one compared to the Taiwan seal. So, even something like this seal, we're gonna go ahead, put in the good old American one. Shoot, between the seal and these gloves, yeah, we're just adding horsepower here. Press that seal into place. Alright, here we go. It looks like the socket we need. This seal is definitely a little tricky to install here. It's definitely not something you're just going to press in with your fingers. Okay, the first thing we're going to install is this little shift locker. We'll go ahead and put some Loctite on here. All right, next we're gonna go ahead and grab this drum. All right, so you got to get your little notch to line up. We got our arm held back. We'll go ahead and put our bolt in. I'm gonna hit it with the impact for now because I can't really put torque on it. All right, coming over here next. All right, now we're gonna put this little piece together here. You got your springs. All right, now that we have that all together, we're gonna go ahead and slide it into the drum. All right, there we go. Throw some Loctite on our bolts. All right, got this all tightened down. I'm gonna go ahead, slide in this shifter shaft here. Throw a little bit of oil on it. I already have the washer down there. And this is gonna have to slide in between that rod. That's what holds the spring on each side. Got this little spacer there. Okay, so now that's down. All right, here we go, we're back. We got our camera all charged up, kind of died on us. As you can see, we got all of our shift assembly in and tight. I did stick a shifter on the side here just to run through the gears. And check it out, I even taped up a little flag here so we can see the speed of our output shaft here. So anyway, we're down in first gear here. Gonna go ahead and real quick show them the speed of first gear. So that's the speed of first gear. You can see our flag. That's as quick as I can spin the shaft. Now we're going to try to half click up. That should be neutral. As you can see, I can hold that shaft. All right, now let's get the drum. All right, now we're going to go through the gears. That's up in the second, third, fourth, and fifth. All right, let's take a look at the flag now. All right, now that we're up in sixth gear, you can see I can spin that flag a bunch faster. All right, anyway, we seem to be running through our gears good. Everything seems to be shifting correctly. Now we're going to go ahead and install our Kickstarter gear. Yeah, perfect. Okay, first, we're going to grab our bolt, throw a little Loctite on that, get our guide here. Take our shaft, we got our gear here, we'll slide on to the spline. Next we'll take our spring. And the way how this works, if anybody's ever kickstarted their bike and accidentally held their leg down, here's your gear here. So if you ever heard that grinding noise or that grrr, that's just simply your gear going like that. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and take this here. Slide that baby in and push it to where it's locking. Alright guys, so we just made another mistake putting this motor together. I just threw this gear on there on any spline like it didn't make it a care in the world. Obviously this has to be lined up correctly to get the correct spring tension. Luckily you can see an indicator mark there and an indicator mark there on the shaft. So we're going to go ahead and line those two dots up. Right, that lined up. So we got our two dots lined up, and now we'll have the correct spring tension we need. So we'll reinstall this. Okay, here we go. Now our gear. We're actually going to put this washer in first. Now our spring, our little guide. Spacer. All right, now we're going to go ahead and put the correct tension on that spring. There we go, starting to look and act a little different now. All right, now we're going to grab our clutch bearing. Throw that on there. get this nice and tight, we're going to go ahead and throw our clutch basket on, which is basically where we're at next anyway. As you can see here, I did clean up all the little notches. You can see in this clutch basket we have just the slightest little bits of marks where it started to groove. Here we go, that's a good example right there. From over time wear, so that got all smoothed out nice and fresh. But I'll go ahead, slide our basket on, and take our lucky penny here. Go ahead and wedge that up in there. All right, now we'll be able to get this nice and tight. I think it called for something like 40 foot-pounds, somewhere in there. That's definitely tight enough. You don't need no torque wrench really, guys. All right. If you can jam and notch your penny up like that, that's enough torque. All right, we just put all of our clutch disc in there. Better go ahead and bolt this down before we forget about something like that. All right. So we're taking one step forward and two back here today. So we definitely need to put our rod in here, or engage our rod. It's going to slide all the way through. Yeah, that should help out a lot. All right, so we got all of our bolts in on our clutch. Now, this is the one time where I definitely recommend using a torque wrench. Every once in a while when you're doing these by hand, sometimes different clutches are goofy. I know I had one in the Triumph where I thought I was just going to bring them until they bottomed out, and it felt like they never bottomed out, and next thing you know, they were shooting me in the face. So it's definitely not something you want to shear off. That would be a nightmare. It's not something I haven't done before, but it's not something we want to do today. So we got our torque wrench set. And that impact gun basically brought us right to where we need it to be. All right, now that our clutch is torqued down, our gear's torqued down, we go ahead and start prepping this thing up. We got one more thing to do. We got to install our water pump gear. That's going to go right there on that bearing. Next thing we're going to do is prep this for a gasket, put our dowels in, and pop our cover on. Just got done popping that Kickstarter seal into this case. This case is all prepped, ready to go. We'll go ahead, put in these dowels. Next, we're going to do a thin layer of grease. All right, here we go. Now our gasket's all in place. I'm going to go ahead and take a little dab of oil here and get some on our water pump shaft here. Time to make a water pump sandwich. I'm gonna go gasket, plate, gasket. Time to install the clutch cover, the secondary cover, or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, we did spend the money and went with a Boysen cover here. Nice burnt bronze, matches our parts pretty good here. So we're gonna go ahead and lay down our gasket. All right, we got both clutch covers on, water pump cover on. We're gonna go ahead and throw this oil fill level bolt on and our CR orange burnt bronze combo there. Coming along, here we go. We're gonna throw this cylinder in. We're gonna go ahead, lay down our gasket. You'll see the piston has an arrow which way it's facing. Also, you can see where it's cut out here, where the intake. We bailed out on the gloves and went all natural. Nobody likes the rubber. All right, we got our piston in. We've just installed that lock ring. Gonna go ahead and make sure our rings are lined up where they're supposed to sit. Gonna go ahead and get a little bit more of that lube. Put some oil around those rings. All right, here we go. Past the first set of rings, second set. Now all of our engine bolts that were internal, we used red Loctite, a little bit stronger. This blue, if you have to remove stuff, is not as bad. But you definitely don't want anything coming loose in that motor on you and grenading you after you just spent all this time on your project. All right, here we go. A couple more parts to bolt up. We got our water inlet here. We'll go ahead, snap a new O-ring in there. Take a look at that. Next, we're installing our head. Gonna go ahead and take our gasket. Fresh burnt bronze. You see we ground away all of our cast marks. All right, we're gonna go ahead and throw a spark plug in here, just so we know nothing goes and falls down in our cylinder. All right, for now, just to get the look, we're gonna go ahead and throw our stator cover on. Proud Papa here, baby, on the CR 500, Big Daddy. Oh, calm down, baby, calm down. Bing, 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 bing. And that's a wrap on the 1990 CR500 motor build. We went over this thing top to bottom. I hope you enjoyed the video. Got a little bit longer on us here. We ran to the 30-minute mark, but at least it's not filled with commercials. Anyway, guys, make sure you stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel, like, leave a comment, good or bad. Let me know how, good you think the motor looks or how stupid we are for messing things up. Either way, stay tuned while we go ahead and throw this motor in the frame. It's running short on the deadline, so the next video you see might actually be this bike all together and running. But anyway, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.